every day you count the days.
So I better stand up then because I can see my friend at the back.
I should have this warm up my eyes.
Today is lesson 6. So we have just passed the midpoint of the course, right? And now actually there are 4 objectives. The first objective is to review what we have covered for the sake of our new friends, right? Some people come here for the first time, so we'll briefly review what we covered in previous weeks. And today we'll talk about how to use the pure test and how the pure fit in the overall plan. And thirdly, why the pure principles are important for building a happy life, or building a happy marriage, or create a better future for yourself. Now, think about that. Have you ever built a house? What a builder here? Shaw?
I've helped.
Built a house. Huh?
I've helped.
You help build a house. Okay? My wife had built a house. Okay?
Yes, I did.
I did too.
Now,
It's very rewarding.
can you build a house without a blueprint?
Not
Can you?
effectively.
Huh? You can? You have built a house too? But usually you have blueprint, usually, okay? Unless you're very experienced, a builder, you know. But in most cases, you need a blueprint or plan. I mean, you might draw it up, but you have a plan in your head, right? Now, can you build a life without a plan?
Not effectively.
Can you build a preferred life, the good life, the ideal life, without a plan? Not very likely. You know what? If you don't plan, other people will plan for you, right? I mean, you either have other people plan for you, or you plan for yourself. So, now these are the components: the roof, the foundation, the building blocks, the furniture. Let's look at the picture, okay? And here, now here's the foundation. Is foundation important for building a house?
Yes.
You know, why you want to build a high-rise? The foundation is so deep, right? They take weeks and weeks, months and months, to make sure they have a good, solid foundation before they can build a superstructure. Now, do you know the parable of the wise builder and a foolish builder? Mm-hmm. A foolish builder built a house on sand, right? When the storm comes, the house collapses. A wise builder built a house on rock, on solid ground. So when the storm comes, it stands. Now, so what is this foundation? I'm suggesting to you that the foundation to build a good marriage, to build a good career, to build life is based on what makes you uniquely human. It's based on the fundamental, basic attributes of what makes you different from animals, what makes you different from the machines, what makes you uniquely human. Okay. Now, Frank will talk about 3 things, the basic tenet. One is the freedom of choice. You have the ability to exercise your freedom as uniquely human. We are moral agents. We decide what's right or wrong. We are also causal agents. We make things happen. Now, some people believe in determinism. Oh, I'm in a mess. Because look at my parents. I have rotten parents. They make me so. Or they blame the government, or blame the genes. I was born stupid, I was born loser. Now this is called the victim mentality, a victim, you know what? Oh, I'm just a victim. Other people make me into such a miserable shape. Now if you have a victim mentality, you can build a good future for yourself, right? Because, oh, that I can do. Other people make me so miserable, make me depressed, make me a loser. So the first thing to build is that you have ownership of your own life, right? You're responsible for your marriage, you're responsible for your happiness, you're responsible for your future. But that is the first rule. The second rule is the will to meaning. You know, Freud talked about the will to pleasure, and Adler talked about the will to power. Nietzsche talked about the will to power. Superman, right? And Frankl talked about the will to meaning. You have the basic desire to live a life that is meaningful to you. Everybody has a unique meaning to pursue, and everybody has a niche in the larger scheme of things. Right? Your life is different from my life. Your gifts are different from my gift. And you have a special niche in the universe. And we'll talk about how to discover that special niche. Right? So you must have the desire, the will to pursue your dream. Don't blame other people. You are responsible to discover and pursue your dream. Okay? The last point is that it doesn't matter how rotten your situation. It doesn't matter what a rotten hand life will deal you with. It doesn't matter how hopeless, how bleak, how difficult your circumstances are. You can discover the positive meaning. So that is fine. Even on your deathbed, even when you're dying of cancer, you can still squeeze out some positive meaning to make your life worth living. So that's the message, right? This is three basic human characteristics. That you have freedom, you have power, make decision, and you have the desire to pursue your ideal, and then it's possible. It's possible for you to discover your ideal. Okay? Now the other three basic value is that people say, well, how do you discover meaning? There's three basic values. The first one is creative value. That means you are actively engaged in life. I don't care whether you are employed or not employed, or whether you're married or single. You can either choose to be passive, that's sitting back doing nothing, or choose to be plunge into the stream of life, to be actively engaged with what's going on in life. You know, you get always opportunity to volunteer, to meet new people. Like here, for example, you have chosen to come here, you have chosen to choose engagement rather than disengagement, right? You are here because you want to meet new people, am I right? You are here want to find new ways of getting engaged with life. So that is the first part, creative. You create something of value with your time, your talent. You know, imagine if you go through life without creating anything of value. That'd be sad. That'd be very sad, right? You never lived. You create some lasting value that make a difference in other people's life, in your children, in your friends, in the world you live, right? Create some of lasting value. Everybody can create something of lasting value. Everybody. Even a little child, right? Even a little child, everybody can. The second thing is that, how about if I'm paralyzed? I'm handicapped, and I can't do very much. I'm old, I'm sick. I'm lying on the deathbed. I'm dying of something. How come you can't do anything? The second way to create value, to create meaning is experiential. you can still learn to appreciate the people around you, your wife, your child. Learn to appreciate life. Learn to appreciate the fresh air, the flower, the rain. You can learn to appreciate, be open to the beauty around you. Right? There's beauty all around you. There are friends who care about you. You have to be open, right? You have to open your heart, open your mind, open yourself to receive the gifts of life, right? And finally, if you even can't receive anything, if all things that happen to you is bad, you know, you're being tortured, being harassed and being oppressed, every day is a bad day, and every minute is painful. You still have the attitude of hero's attitude, right? Say, I am not going to be defeated. I will take a stand and live with dignity, with human dignity. I can be destroyed, but I cannot be defeated. That's Hemingway, right? Hemingway, the old man at sea, right? I can be destroyed. You can destroy me, but you cannot defeat my spirit, my human spirit. See? So this is the foundation. Now, if you have these foundations, and then you'll be okay. Right? Now, the next one I want to talk about is, we'll talk about the source of meaning. Yeah? How to do it? Source of meaning. Now, that is, you have foundation now you have building blocks. Okay? Last week we talked about how do you build a life with substance? You know, not straw or mud, and solid building block. So the eighth thing you have to do, remember the eighth thing you have to do. You have to have positive emotions, right? You can give each other positive stroke. Right? You give each other a hug, a kiss, or a kind word. Say a kind word to each other. When you give out positive vibes to other people, it comes back to you, right? If you give negative vibes to other people, it comes back negative to you.
That's true.
Right? If you keep criticizing each other, you are contributing to building a happy marriage, a happy life. But everything is false, right? I demand somebody on my case all the time. You know, the only time we argue with my is when she criticizes me, right?
So that's the secret to all those years of
When she criticized me, so I said, you know, can you leave me alone, right? You know, she was, she's very proper. She said, I'm free and easy, you know. She called me Sam say, you know. Sam say, I'm a little crazy, I'm a little crazy. Sam say, 不三不四，我小五了，我怎么5 is fine. So the only argument we have is she when she criticized me, okay? Now, the only time, you know, I say, but now she cut down a lot. Before she would correct me, you know. When you walk, you don't put your hand in your pocket. I said, come on, give me a break, you know. You know, what's wrong with that, you know? You winter time, right? And she would say, no, don't point. The story is there.
How do you explain what's happening? Somebody is waiting at the Finch and Young subway station, so John's going to pick her up. And what did you talk about?
Talking about the 46.
You see, we shape each other.
But anyway, so now she learned, you know, just, he's not perfect, you know, let him be, you know, he's a bit stupid, a bit foolish. It doesn't correct me, making me a gentleman. I'm not a gentleman, right? I'm just myself, right? She can ship me to a proper gentleman, but she failed, right? So I can criticize her for free association. Like when I say things like man, right? She will, whenever she go on, she will digress, okay? And can she be rational like me, like be on target, right? Rather free associate, right? So she got married to me too, right? So I said, okay, fine, free associate. Okay.
That's called multitasking.
Exactly.
She was skills, okay. Okay. But anyway,
Women are very good at that.
yeah, I know. But drive me crazy, drive me crazy.
That's only because you wish you had that.
They don't have that. Multitasking is so tiring. There's so many things we have to do at the same time.
But anyway, so the idea is that we have to say, well, I'm not perfect, she's not perfect, that we are still together because we accept each other's imperfection. See what I mean? Right? That's the idea, right? Take the positive with the negative. That if we try to remake your mate to your image, you're going to mess up your marriage.
Yes. Because it'd be like living with yourself.
You'll be constantly trying to try to
Boring.
criticizing or remake, criticize another shape. You can't. What you marry her in the first place, you know what she's like, right? Or what you marry him in the first place, you know that he's not perfect, right? So, now, the next thing we talk about is, okay, what are we talking about? Oh, positive emotion. And then the other thing is what? The other 7 elements, do you remember? The other 7 elements. The first one is positive emotion. The other 7, do you remember? Achievement. You have to achieve something with what you have. Relationship. Right? Relationship. You have to relate to other people. Intimacy. You have someone that's very close to you, right? And then acceptance. You accept your own limitations, the environment, and yourself. 5th, you know what it is? Religion and spirituality. 6, 6, self-transcendence means altruism, means helping other people. And then the last one is fairness, justice, right? You want to be treated fairly. You don't allow people to wrong you. You know, like as a kid, I was hurt most when my mother wronged me or scolded me for no reason. Or when my wife scolded me for no reason. so that is, you know, I react very strongly because I want to be treated fairly. You are forced to accuse me, that is work for me. Okay? Other people doesn't care, right? But for me, you force to accuse me, you call me a liar, or you know, that I react very strongly. So these are the building blocks. So if you have all the building blocks in place, that you have a pretty solid house, right? Now, the next thing is,
No, I want you to press the slideshow.
You know, why don't we just do this?
There you go.
So today,
Difference between a Mac and a PC.
so today we talk about pure. Today we talk about pure. Pure is a framework, the frame. Okay? You know, when you build a house, you have a frame first, right? Have a frame. The shape of the house. The shape of the house is dependent on the frame, right? And then you have the roof. Now, the roof represents the overarching philosophy of life. Everybody you have some philosophy of life. Now, for example, I don't want to get into politics, but you know, the idea of communism, 共产主义, communism is a good one, right? You know, serving people and share the wealth with everybody. But in practice, 共产主义变成功利主义, right? So the communism become a philosophy of making money, you know, for our own benefit and for our own happiness. So that philosophy can ruin China. But everybody for himself, right? I'm going to step on other people in order to succeed. I'm going to step on other people back in order to make more money. The 功利主义, I mean, utilitarianism, okay? Or the philosophy of success and happiness at any cost. So that kind of philosophy might make you rich, but will not make you happy. Okay? Because that was a selfish way to live. In contrast, I'm saying that we need to have a philosophy of meaning and virtue. How can I live a life that serves a higher purpose or serve greater good?
Sorry, if I just adding to
Support back. Okay? So that philosophy of life is your overall philosophy of life is important. Because without philosophy of life, what happens? You lose your way easily. Without philosophy of life, you will not be able to navigate through temptations, minefields, dangers, right? But life is full of traps, full of dangers. So your philosophy of life, your values, guide you, steer you to reach your goal and avoid the pitfalls. So that is, and finally, you need a furnishing, right? You know, nice furniture, nice painting. Right? All little things that make the house home, right? Make the house livable. Those are meaningful moments you can discover. Okay? Not just moments of happy moments are part of the eight, remember? The meaningful moments you can discover, recognize through your engagement, through observation, through your meditation, and through relationship. So many little things can create a meaningful moment for you. A moment that has significance. A moment that has some meaning for you. Not just a cheap thrill. Okay, like one night stand, cheap thrill. But there's something that's satisfying. Okay? So that is this quarter about. Okay? And at the Summer Institute, I will talk about how to apply the pure principle to clinical cases. But even this house has a good plan, good foundation. Sometimes you have earthquake, right? Sometimes you have storm, flood. This house can be broken, right? So the second course, we'll talk about how to rebuild your house when it's broken, right? We talk about ABCD principles. So we'll talk about that in Summer Institute as well, right? So the two parts of the program, the first part is how to build a good life, how to build a better future. The second one is how to fix what's broken, how to start the process of rebuilding it, rebuilding your marriage, rebuilding your broken life, and how to start from zero, from ground zero, from negative into positive. Right? So any question about that? That's the overview. It's helpful to new people. It's the overview. Yeah? Now the pure, meaning in life can be operationally defined into purpose, understanding, responsibility, enjoyment. So this is, I'll give you a pure test. Have you done a pure test? Yeah. The pure test is a way to measure the meaningfulness in your life. Yeah, we'll talk about that later on. Purpose is very important. You know why? Because purpose helps to clarify your life direction, where you're going. When you get on an airplane or get in a boat, you have to know your destination. Where are you going? The overall direction of your life. If you do not have a direction in life, you say, oh, my direction in life is just to make money. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. Oh, my direction in life is to find more pleasure. You're in trouble again. Right? But you have direction that have some meaning to it. Right? It's not just money and pleasure. And your purpose also clarify your values. What really matters to you? What is ultimately important? What really matters? Your family, your friend, your child, or your children's future. There are many Chinese people, Chinese couple, give up a good job to come to Canada. You know why? because they want to create a better future for their children. Right? They sacrifice themselves. They couldn't find a job that's similar to what they had in China. Because their purpose is to sacrifice their own happiness for the children, but still a valuable, worthy purpose. The important part of purpose is try to organize your activities and deliberate your daily plan. So your purpose tend to give you a sense of priority, right? But every day so many things to be done. My wife, multitasking. Oh, that's a poor excuse, right? Do you know why poor excuse? Because I said, oh my dear wife, okay? I said, listen to me carefully, okay?
I think you're going to hear about this tonight at dinner.
They always multiple tasks there. But some tasks are more important than other tasks, my dear. You have to focus on the task that is the most urgent, most important, not the task that you enjoy most, right? The time you enjoy most is talk to people and the small things. But you miss out the main thing. So the purpose is important. It says the ladies, right?
We love you guys.
But it's important. It's fine to do multitasking. But the guys say, well, first and first, they got to get job done, right? I have to get this lecture ready, right? I can say, oh, I have one lesson to do. I don't know. And then her revenge comes when you take over. Okay? And the last point is how to discover and pursue the calling. I'm going to talk about that in the next lesson. Okay, Rebecca? Now, understanding is also an important part of living a meaningful life. Understanding means using your head, right? You have a brain, right? You have a brain. Right? You're not a fool, you're not stupid. Right? But many people act as if they have no brain. Now, this time pick on guys now. I told the guys now, they don't understand. They don't know what their wife is going through. The wife is crying out for help. The wife is suffering, but the guy is still blind. Well, what do you complain about? You have food on the table, what do you complain about? But she's unhappy. Have you found out why she's unhappy? See, one of my point in life is to keep my wife happy, right? She verified that, right? Dear, what can I make you happy? Right? That's why I'm okay, right? So after so many years, after 46 years, I'm still okay because I make that my purpose of life. You better make that your purpose of life is to please your wife. You hear me? Your future wife, your girlfriend, whatever. And then you'll be safe. If your wife is unhappy, you're finished. I'm telling the truth, right? 过来人, I'm experienced person in life. If your wife is miserable, your life finished. You don't have a home.
That's true.
Right? Yeah. So my purpose in life is serve God and please my wife. Okay, so now I redeem myself now.
Well, because you're both one, right?
Yeah.
So
But still I do
that's
personality.
literally the other half of you.
Yeah,
So
but still I
she's
do
not-
personality, right?
Yeah.
But I make a point to make her happy. Right? Now she can verify that, right? She says yes. Right? Yeah. I make a point of everything. Randy, what can I do to make her happy? I make a point to make her happy. Otherwise I won't last that long. Otherwise I got kicked out the door, right?
Let's go shopping.
So, she's shopping. So I said, okay, shop when you want, okay, go shopping. I just sit around with my writing pad. I'm happy with the writing pad. With my pen, my writing pad, writing my poetry, writing my essay, whatever. She can shop anything you want. But if she has to spend more than $1,000, she can consult me, right? She can spend a few $100, that's fine. So she didn't ask me, then she can do anything you want. Right? That make her happy. Right? You can control her, she'll be unhappy. then I'm in trouble. Okay. Now, you'll be fully aware of the situation. What's going on in the home? What's going on at the work? You cannot be blind or bury your head in the sand like an ostrich. You have to know what's happening around you. If you do not open your eyes and see what's happening around you, you'll be in deep trouble. Right? I mean, how long can you bury your head in the sand? Oh, you're fine, right? Oh, don't serious. You can't bury your head in the sand for long. Right? And you have to know the right from wrong. When you make a decision, do things, you ask yourself, is it the right thing to do? Would that hurt my wife? Or would that hurt my friend? Or would that dishonor God? Or does it violate the law? You have no legal and ethical issue. You don't do something that cut corners. You know, they're bordering on breaking the law to make money. Sooner or later, you will catch up with you. There's always an opportunity to make money, right? There's always illegally. There's always ways to make money legally. So you have to know, if you want to live a good life, you ask yourself, is that legal? Is it ethical? Am I proud of what I'm doing? Can I tell people what I'm doing? Yeah. Inherent ability, you take full responsibility for your life, okay? Assuming responsibility for your decisions and holding yourself accountable. You are accountable to your wife. You are accountable to your children. You are accountable to God, to society. Whatever you do, there's a rippling effect, you know? Put a stone in the water, there's a rippling effect. It affects other people. Whatever you do, what you say, has effect on the people, for good or for bad. You're a good person if what you do or say bring happiness to other people. You make bad decisions, you hurt other people, especially those people who are close to you. You often we hurt people close to you without realizing it. You know, I'm sure I've hurt her sometimes, and she has forgiven me, right?
But you did the same.
Huh?
You did the same, you forgive her sometimes.
Oh yeah. Sometimes she got me mad, criticizing me. I forget. Okay. The natural consequence of living a purpose life, living life with understanding and with vulnerability is enjoyment. You feel good about yourself. But not always. You know why? You know why? Sometimes you may pay too high a price for doing the right thing, right? Sometimes you pay too high a price. As a woman, right? They sacrifice themselves for their husband, sacrifice themselves for their children, sacrifice their own ambition, career for their parents. They sacrifice everything because they have a sense of responsibility, right? Are they to be good mother, good wife, good daughter? They want to do things that are, what happened? They're tired. They are exhausted. They feel unhappy. So it's possible for you to do all the right things, still feel unhappy. Am I right? Then you have to consider how to bring balance to your life. You have to think about yourself, right? If you just sacrifice yourself for everybody else, you'll be miserable. You'll be miserable, right? So if you're miserable, other people around you will be affected negatively. So it backfires. Right? So the key is to have some balance. Now, here's an example. Riot in London, in Vancouver, in Toronto. Now, who are the rioters? Do you know who are the rioters? Some are poor, but some rioters are university students from U of T, from University of London. The rioters are having a ball, having a great time, looting stores, getting help themselves with freebies, and then all the frustration by burning, set fire to buildings, to cars. So they might score high on PERMA. PERMA is the Stillman's vision of a happy life. P means positive emotion. So when you cause a riot, you feel excited. Before you're boring, your life is empty, your life is boring, your life is nothing. But now, I'm going to have a riot. You're very excited. And the second one is engagement. So before they're done to do, now they're actively engaged in causing trouble, in beating up police and beating up people. They are engaged and meaningful.
It's okay, Your Honor.
I'm too excited. So relationship. They are the body together. A set fire a car. They are related to other people who are rioting, and this thing is very meaningful. You know why? We are teaching police a lesson. We're teaching the police, the rich people a lesson. Right? And finally, they will come with something. Your police cannot do anything about us. We do anything we want. So they can score high on PERMA, but they will score low on pure. Now, you look at your pure test. We have pure test. How many people have completed that?
No, I didn't.
Give me a copy. I have one. My wife and I keep pure test. Now,
Did you get them all out?
Yeah, I gave the test.
Yeah, you can't have it, yeah.
okay. Now, there are 16 questions. There are 4 questions. The top 4 is for purpose. The second 4 is understanding. The third 4 is reasonability. The last 4 is enjoyment. So you can evaluate your marriage, or your job, or project. Now, if you score high on pure, then you have pretty good mental health. You have pretty good happiness. Now, if you score high on first rate, but low on enjoyment, that means what? That means you're sacrificing too much. You're sacrificing too much of yourself for other people. You have to think about how to restore some balance. So here, little exercise, you can work on yourself. So I think I'm run out of steam. And any questions so far? I think I'm finished now. Okay. So any questions?